So today we're going to be checking out Alpine Homme Sport by Maison Alhambra, also known as Lattafa. So big fragrance cologne brand here. They have a lot of great releases behind their belt, a lot of high quality stuff for low prices. This is another one, and you can probably tell what they're up to here. And it is true. They are going right for the big boy top dog Chanel. Chanel is not a brand to mess with. So, they've sued discounters before for selling stuff below retail. So, yeah, RIP Notino.com for those of you who have been in the game for, a while now. You probably remember that. That's what happened to Notino here in the US. So, to see a clone brand just straight up trying to rip into, Chanel. It's kind of funny. They're doing the same with Tom Ford and Mancera and other brands. So, it's really interesting to see these clones pop up. It just kind of makes you chuckle. We're going to go over this one today. I'm going to tell you how it smells, how it performs, how it compares to the Chanel. And this is going to be interesting. It's going to spark probably some conversation because you're probably already thinking, okay, there's a couple other fragrances on the market that smell similar to this. Keep in mind, when we're talking about things that smell similar to Allure Homme Sport, Allure Homme Sport started it. So this came out in 2004. We have Versace Pour Homme, which came out in 2008, and then Missoni Wave, which came out a few years ago. That's the newest, one, aside from this is probably actually the newest, but talking about those other designers. That makes you wonder, okay, those other things smell similar. Why would you go for a clone? And I'm going to cover that maybe just right now. So really quickly, when we go over them, Versace Pour Homme is going to be the furthest from this, although still heavily inspired. It's going to be brighter, muskier, fresher overall. You get a little bit of a sweetness out of Versace Pour Homme, but mostly it's all about the neroli, the citruses, and the musk with a little bit of that aldehydic base. Still is very much going after the Chanel, but with its own twist. The Missoni meets them in the middle. So the Missoni takes the really bright, fresh opening from Versace Pour Homme, but then mixes in some of the sweetness from the Chanel, some of the tonka, aldehydes, orange, that sort of thing. So it's a hybrid, okay? Essentially what Alpine does is it is going straight after the Chanel here, not only with the presentation, but also the scent itself. So they are really focusing in on what makes the Chanel so magical. And to me, that has always been the orange, aldehydes, tonka bean mixture, which ultimately gives you this really unique kind of combination of C notes, but then sweetness, and then freshness, and then airiness. It's a whole bunch of stuff, but it still maintains to be a very clean and refreshing DNA. That is what the Chanel does best. That's what the Versace couldn't quite capture, and the Missoni can't get all the way there either. So really, when it comes to getting Chanel Allure Homme Sport, up until now, up until discovering this, the only way to really get that was to buy the Chanel, which has to be at full retail or above full retail if you are shopping on discounters, and that's $100+. So if you are looking to get Chanel Allure Homme Sport the closest you possibly can, it's gonna be to get Alpine, to get something from one of the big clone brands. I don't know if there's others like Fragrance World or anything like that. I don't know if they've done their take on Chanel Allure Homme Sport. This is the only one that I know of currently, and it's something like this that's going to go straight for the throat of just the Chanel and get you the closest. So let's start off with how it smells. I mean, when you spray it on, you get the orange, C notes, kind of freshness with some of the aldehydes as well immediately. So it opens up fresh, invigorating, bright, very much just a pleasing, kind of a happy smell. It's something that just smells relaxing and refreshing. As you start to work your way into the mid, into the dry down, that's where some of the sweeter, heavier notes comes in. And again, I'm going to use the word another time, but that's the best way to describe it. The creaminess really starts to come into play. And again, that's what makes the Chanel so special to me. It's just the creamy nature that it has mixing with the freshness to where it doesn't make it a winter scent or a fall scent. It doesn't go to the level of Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme, but it just gives it enough of a contrast. So it ultimately makes it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more unique, and just a different take on a sporty scent. At the end of the day, when you hear sport, you know, you think it's something that's pretty much going to be loaded with citrus and maybe some florals and musk, and that's about it. But the Chanel has a different approach on it, and I really like it for that reason. So again, going along with the orange, the C notes, the aldehydes, get a little bit of a tonka bean vanilla thing in the dry down, getting into that sweetness. Some amber as well, also adding to that sweetness there. A little bit of cedar wood, a little bit of neroli, kind of adding to that brightness kind of off the top. So it just has a wide array of things, you know, across the board, opposite ends of the spectrum there in terms of your notes, which really makes it stand out. So yeah, this also does smell a little bit like Versace Pour Homme, a little bit like Missoni Wave. So, you know, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, if you already have one or both of those, it's going to be one of those deals where you don't have to rush out and get this. It probably isn't going to appeal to you to rush out and get this. You already have something or a couple of things, or maybe you have all three that smell similar. Obviously, the Chanel would smell identical to the Chanel, but talking if you have the Versace, the Missoni, you know, that the want of something like this is going to go down, you know, because you have your options there. This is more so going to be for people who want to get as close to the Chanel as possible, talking about the scent DNA, and the presentation is an added bonus, and just ultimately conquer that DNA as close as you can without actually spending the money on the real deal. And alternatively, if you already have the Chanel and you love it, you're someone like me, you love the scent, you spray it heavy, you wear it all the time, but maybe you're a little bit cheap, kind of like me, and you want something that smells almost identical that you can wear and essentially save yourself some money by not having to spray your real deal, this is another option. Now, I have several bottles of Allure Homme Sport. It's not a problem. I try not to fall into that trap too much, although sometimes I do. More so, I think of it as, okay, maybe if I'm in the mood to wear something that smells like Chanel Allure Homme Sport, but I'm going to take a shower a couple hours later, or it's going to get sweated off, I could just wear a cheap cologne like this. And yes, you could also wear the Versace, the Missoni, but they do offer a little bit of a different approach as well. Another thing that I do really like about this one from a cologne perspective is obviously the fact that they are going after the presentation, right? But what I like is that it does kind of get you away from the typical cologne presentation. You know, a lot of them are not really something that would blend in with your designer collection. You know, it's going to stand out for better or for worse. So with something like this, I mean, it doesn't look suspicious. It doesn't look strange. It just looks like it fits in. Yeah, that's a, you know, pretty simplistic cologne bottle. Very similar to that of the Chanel. They just sit there and they look nice. Some of the cologne bottles can be a little bit distracting. That's going to be a big selling point for a lot of people. All right, so jumping into the presentation a little bit here, we actually have an eau de parfum concentration. I'm going to grab my bottle out of my pocket one more time. And this is an eau de toilette, Allure Homme Sport, kind of what I thought. So that begs the question, how's performance? On Alpine, it's actually pretty good. Eau de parfum concentration, longevity-wise, about 8 hours. Not a complete beast mode scent, but also isn't completely weak either. And anymore, you know, 7-8 hours is kind of just okay, when in reality, that's above okay. I would say 5 to 6 is just all right, just average. But when you're looking at the trend now, all of the blue scents, but also just all the super syrupy, sweet, bubblegummy scents, those are going for 12, 14 hours. It pushes that average performance metric up to where it makes us wanting more. But I would say at where it's sitting right now, the 7 to 8 hour mark, really can't complain too much. And depending on what bottle of Allure Homme Sport you have, older versus newer, different batches, older ones, whatever, there have been changes over the years. It's going to depend on performance there. I would say, depending on if you're getting the newer bottle, this might actually perform a little bit better. Ultimately, this one has pretty good quality to boot. Also, it's not Chanel quality, but it also isn't complete cheapy smelling either. It really holds its own in this price bracket, in this category, and it holds up to what I would expect to get from Alhambra, Lattafa, which is something that brings a lot to the table for a low price. All right, so that's going to do it for me, guys. If you're looking for Allure Homme Sport, as close as you can get, even closer than the Versace and Missoni alternatives, this will be the one for you. And in terms of price, it's actually going to be about on par with those other two. So it's just going to be one of those things where it's going to be up to you to make the decision on what you're after. If you're looking for something rare, discontinued, hard to find, if you're looking for clones like this, which might be a little bit hard to get, sold out, whatever, get on my mailing list at the first link down below. Anytime something new, hot, exciting, or just rare comes into stock, I send out an email giving you the opportunity to get one for yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.